Welcome, everyone, to the launch of the Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus. My name is Karen Eisenberg-Jones, and I am the Director of Government and Political Affairs for the Consulate General of Israel to the Southeast. Today is a great day. We are here to celebrate the newly formed Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus. It was the hard work and dedication to many individuals that brought us to this historic moment. And today we are surrounded by many local leaders in the fields of government, business, academics, law enforcement, and even social justice and community service. All here in their support for the ever-important and ever-growing Georgia-Israel relationship. I want to recognize our esteemed guests, the Governor of the great state of Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp, the Consul General of Israel to the Southeast, Anat Sultan Dadon, Georgia Speaker of the House, David Ralston, our bipartisan caucus co-chairs in the Georgia Senate and in the Georgia House of Representatives, Senator John Albers, Senator Tanya Anderson, Representative Debra Bazemore, Representative John Carson, Representative Micah Gravley, Representative Mike Wilensky, and all the legislators and leaders that are here today. And lastly, I want to especially recognize the delegation from the Middle East and the Gulf states here with us today from Sharaka. The men and women standing right here to my right are from Sharaka, which is an NGO and literally translates to mean peace in Arabic. And they are here in the Southeast to talk to us about the tremendous impact of the Abraham Accords, both in their region and its positive implications here in the US. From Sharaka, we have Dr. Najat Al-Sayed, a journalist and professor living in the UAE, and please raise your hand and say hello. Ms. Fatima Al-Harbi, the Director of Sharaka Gulf Affairs from Bahrain. Mr. Noam Berin, a photojournalist and ecological activist from Israel. Dr. Haitham Hassanin, an Egyptian-American who is a foreign affairs and Middle East analyst and scholar. And lastly, I think we have a newcomer that just came today, one of the co-founders of Sharaka, Amit Deri. I just met him a minute ago, so apologize for that. But we're so blessed to have him here. It is an incredible opportunity to have this delegation with us here today, and we hope you all join us at the reception after this ceremony to get to know these men and women. We are very honored to have with us today an incredible leader whose support for Israel has been unwavering. We are very much looking forward to doing great things with him and working together. Please welcome the 83rd Governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp.
Well, thank you very much for that kind introduction, and good morning, everyone. Let me just first of all thank you for being here today. We're here to mark a new and important chapter in the long history of the Georgia General Assembly and our state's enduring friendship with the nation of Israel. I'm proud to be next to a great leader and a talented and dedicated servant of the people, but also a valued friend, our Speaker, David Ralston. I'm also glad that we're once again joined by Consul General Anat Sultan Dadon, who joined us roughly a month ago in this same very place where we signed HB 383 into law to prevent discrimination against our valued ally of Israel when it comes to state contracts. We're also honored to be joined this morning by Deputy Consul General Alex Gandler and members of the Sharaka delegation, a partnership that was mentioned earlier between representatives from Israel, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and other Gulf states. Formed after the signing of the Abraham Accords, a lasting result of President Trump's hope for peace and hard work on this incredible issue. I want to also recognize the members of the General Assembly and specifically Senators John Albers, Tanya Anderson, Representative Mike Wilensky, John Carson, Debra Bazemore, and Micah Gravley, both for being here and for joining to form the bipartisan Georgia-Israeli Caucus in the General Assembly. This new beginning is not only a result of the desire to safeguard and strengthen our relationships with the descendants of Abraham, but also the need to push back against the rise of anti-Semitism that we have seen of late in our communities, in hateful political rhetoric, and in activities like those employed by so-called BDS movement. As I said last month at the signing of HB 383, for many decades now, Georgia's friendship of shared values with Israel has only continued to grow as both our cultural and economic bonds continue to strengthen. Israel has maintained a consular presence in Georgia since 1956, and the state of Georgia has had representation in Israel since 1994. And I continue to look forward to leading a full delegation of Georgia business leaders and businesses to Israel next year to reaffirm our economic partnership, but also our long-term friendship. We're also proud of our ties to the Jewish people, and our shared history extends much further back. Our state is home to a large, vibrant, and growing Jewish population whose roots go back to literally the very founding of Georgia. Shortly after Oglethorpe landed in Savannah in 1733, 42 Jewish immigrants from Europe followed him and landed in that same historic place to seek out a new life in the New World where they could worship freely. Many would follow in the centuries since. So from the very beginning, Georgia through today, ours has been and will remain a reputation as a state that supports the Jewish people and the nation founded and formed by its people. As we've said many times over the last couple of years, and many times before, hatred has no place in the Peach State. And to underscore that fact, it is altogether appropriate that we have members of the Shiraka delegation with us, representing different religions, different nationalities, and differing views, but all working for a common cause. The same scripture that binds all three religions of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, in what Christians like me refer to as the Old Testament, tells us that long after the sending away of Ishmael and his mother, after the family break that would lead to two different fates and nations, after Isaac had grown and become a leader in his own right, the two estranged brothers came together to bury Abraham after his passing. Though years of built-up anger had separated them, their shared grief and love for their father brought them together again. Even hurt and hostility cannot undo family ties. Today, with men and women from different beliefs and the knowledge of painful past are gathered together, we are reminded of the fact. We are reminded of our shared, distant family origins as we affirm again that Georgia will continue to stand with our friends and our allies in Israel. To the co-chairs of the new caucus who have pledged to defend that partnership, thank you all for your work, and may God bless this great endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Kemp. The next man to address us here today is a man who has dedicated nearly 2 decades of his life to public service. He is a stalwart ally of the State of Israel and a true friend and ally of the Jewish people. Please welcome Georgia Speaker of the House, David Ralston.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Good morning to all of you. I'm very proud to be here today and join Governor Kemp in welcoming you to the state capitol as we celebrate the launch of the Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus. I can assure you that the nation of Israel has no better friend in this state than Governor Brian Kemp. I particularly want to welcome the Consul General of Israel to the southeastern United States and all of the diplomatic representatives and faith leaders who are here today. While this new caucus is an exciting milestone, the bond between the United States as well as the state of Georgia and Israel is a tried and true friendship. In the Georgia General Assembly year after year, we have passed policies to protect Israel and its people, whether it is outlawing hate crimes or rejecting businesses that discriminate against Israel. We have made clear that we stand shoulder to shoulder. Now more than ever, we see the importance of such bonds on the global stage. In the midst of the horror of the Russian atrocities in the Ukraine, our two nations have stood together against Putin's barbaric violence. Just 2 days ago, Israel's field hospital in Ukraine opened and welcomed 50 patients wounded in this senseless war. The lead physician in the Israeli delegation said, "We will extend a helping hand to them as has always been the state of Israel's custom." So today we reaffirm our alliance and begin another chapter in our shared history. I want to close by thanking my colleagues in the General Assembly who will be the founding co-chairs of this caucus. Thank you for your work that brought us here and your work that will carry us forward. May God bless each of you, and may He continue to bless Israel and our United States.
Thank you, Speaker Ralston. Next, I want to introduce the Consul General of Israel to the Southeast, Anat Sultan Dadon. She is here spearheading not just diplomatic relations between Israel and the state of Georgia, but establishing warm and authentic relationships with many people, many leaders from all sectors across this great state. It is my privilege to work for her, and I'm very excited to introduce her, Consul General of Israel to the Southeast, Anat Sultan Dadon.
Good morning and shalom. Governor Kemp, thank you for honoring us with your presence. And thank you for your remarks, and most of all, for your long-standing friendship with the state of Israel. Speaker of the House David Ralston, members of the Georgia General Assembly, House representatives and senators, rabbis, heads of organizations, friends, I am very excited to be here with you for the remarkable occasion of the launch of the Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus. And I would like to extend a special thank you to the 6 founding co-chairs of this caucus: Senator John Albers, Senator Tanya Anderson, Representative Debra Bazemore, Representative John Carson, Representative Micah Gravley, and Representative Mike Wilensky. Thank you all for your friendship and recognition of the importance of these relations. The fact that we are honored to launch this caucus with bipartisan support among the state legislators in the presence of so many friends, representatives of organizations, and individuals from different faiths and backgrounds is testament to the strength and extent of the close relations between the state of Israel and the great state of Georgia. We are also privileged to be joined today by a special delegation of Friends from the Middle East, representatives of the Sharaka organization, established by young leaders in Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain, following the signing of the historic Abraham Accords. They are working together to promote the vision of peace, partnership, and people-to-people relations. The Abraham Accords, which the United States played a key role in this great achievement, have not only paved the way for further regional cooperation in a new era of peace and economic prosperity between Israel and Arab countries, they are also providing new opportunities for expanding economic relations between Israel, our new partners in the region, and the United States. That is the beauty of partnerships. They allow us to expand opportunities. The state of Georgia has stood out in the strong relations that it has maintained with Israel ever since our independence in 1948. As we soon approach our 74th Independence Day celebrations, I am especially pleased we can also celebrate this unique enhancement to the relations between Israel and Georgia. I look forward to the Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus providing an additional platform for mutual engagement and collaboration, contributing to the further strengthening of our mutually beneficial relations in the political, economic, cultural, academic, and social realms. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul General. The next 6 people I would like to call up to address everyone here today are our caucus co-chairs. And like the Consul General said, we are so blessed to have 6 wonderful people, bipartisan co-chairs for this caucus. So I will let you guys come up and each speak for a moment. I'll just introduce you all at one time. We have Georgia Senator John Albers, Georgia Senator Tanya Anderson, Georgia Representative Debra Bazemore, Georgia Representative John Carson, Georgia Representative Micah Gravley, and Georgia Representative Mike Wilensky. Please each come up and say a few words.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here today. I also want to recognize one of our leaders in the Senate, our Senate President, Pro Tem Butch Miller, who's been a tremendous friend to Israel throughout his time here at the Capitol. I want to begin by thanking Governor Kemp. We've had a lot of wonderful governors in our state, but no one has done more to strengthen our relationship with Israel and the bonds that we have created through friendship and through business and our support for freedom-loving people all over the world. And to Speaker Ralston for his tremendous leadership and commitment through the House of Representatives and the work we do to support you. I'm honored to be a part of this caucus, and in days ahead in the future, we'll continue to celebrate the great successes that we will have together by working together and creating jobs, creating opportunities and friendships that will last a lifetime. Thank you, and God bless you.
Good morning. I am State Senator Tanya Anderson, and I am so delighted to be chosen by the chosen people who was sent by the chosen one and befriend what God has blessed us with. And my sweet friend Anat, I always say, you are Georgia's gift sent from Israel. As a state senator and as a minister of the gospel, Israel has always and always will have a special place in my heart. I'm reminded of the scripture in Genesis 17 where God made the promise, and he's made many of them. He said, I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant to be God to you and to your offspring after you. And I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. So I'm grateful to be a friend of Israel, to be a friend of God, to be of the chosen, of the chosen, of the special, of the chosen special. And I am more than honored to serve as one of the founding members and to see the relationship between Israel and Georgia and how this will progress and blossom and bloom into something so beautiful that it cannot be denied. So thank you for allowing me to serve.
Good morning. As it was said, I am Representative Debra Bazemore, and I am so excited for this venture. I'd like to thank our governor. I'd like to thank the Speaker of the House and all that are assembled here today. This is a monumental time for us, and I am so pleased and honored that I was chosen as one of the founder co-chairs for this caucus. And we had breakfast this morning around the table at the governor's office, and someone said, you know, it's hard to hate someone when you get to know them. And my aim is to make sure we educate and make sure we bring together each and every person, because what happens to one happens to all of us. It affects all of us. So we need to unite as we have here in the General Assembly to create this caucus, the second caucus that has been created in the state of the United States of America. There's only one more. So we are going to do great things, and we are going to bind together to make sure that Georgia stays great and that we work together with our brothers and sisters. And also, I would be remiss if I did not thank my colleague, my friend, and my brother, Representative Mike Wilensky. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Jones, Governor Kemp, thank you for being here. Speaker Ralston, Consul General, colleagues. I am honored to be a co-chair of this important caucus. The nation of Israel has a special place in my heart, as I'm sure it does for all of us here today, and I'm honored to support Israel here in the Georgia General Assembly. From improving our anti-BDS statute to stopping anti-Semitism in our state, the state of Georgia does not tolerate persecution of the Jews. And I echo what Governor Kemp, what you said, hatred has no place in our state. We stand here today with the nation of Israel and Jewish citizens all across our state. So thank you again for having me this morning.
Well, good morning. I am honored to stand here with our governor, who leads by example. He and the First Lady for taking in support of this caucus, for our Speaker as well, who has been a tremendous supporter over the years of the State of Israel, the Israeli people, and for our Consul General, Sultan Dadat. Thank you so much for being here. For our Shiraka delegation, thank you so much. I'm proud to be here with the Consul General and my colleagues, co-chairs Wilensky, Representative Carson, Bazemore, Senator Albers, and Senator Anderson. And I want to thank all of you for being here today for this very special occasion. We're here to celebrate the launch of the bipartisan Georgia-Israel Legislative Caucus at the Capitol. And for my entire career, I have been a supporter of the State of Israel, ranging from pushing back against anti-Semitism and the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, or BDS movement, to celebrating Israel's over 70-year history as a democratic state. I have voted for legislation supporting Israel since I entered the House of Representatives in 2013. I have also sponsored several pieces of legislation related to our special relationship, including a commendation of the State of Israel, recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and legislation that I led urging Israel to keep the consulate here in Atlanta open, which makes me all the more prouder to welcome our Consul General, Sultan Dadat, here today. I know that Georgia and Israel will continue to be partners, and I'm glad to be a part of strengthening those ties today. You know, Micah 6:8 says, "For you know, O man, what the Lord requires of you and what he would have you do, and that is to love mercy, to do justly, and to walk humbly with your God." Together and today, Israel's values are our values, and American values are Israel's values. Thank you all for being here today.
Hi, I'm Representative Micah Wilensky. Thanks so much for being here today. Thank you, Governor Kemp, Speaker Ralston, all of the senators and all of the representatives who are co-chairing. And I want to thank all of the senators and representatives who continually, over my 2 terms, and the governor and speaker for supporting me, supporting the state of Israel, supporting Jewish people in Georgia, and of course, the Consul General, ever since she's come and educated, taught, helped people learn and form friendships, relationships. It's made it so helpful in understanding and just an all-around why the relationship between Israel and Georgia is so important. So thank you so much for being here. And I was elected in 2018, and you get sent to the biennial. You learn with all the other people elected, just a big conference. And one of the things popped up on the board, and it said, you know, the #1 countries that we do export-imports or work with, and Israel was listed. And I grew up in a Jewish day school here in Georgia, and I said, why did I not know that Israel was one of those? Why does everybody not know that Israel is one of those? And I'm not running again, so this is emotional for me. It's amazing that I'm bookending my time here by I first got to vote to pass the hate crimes bill, and now I'm ending it here with this amazing caucus that hopefully will go on forever, and I will continue no matter what to make sure that it does. And that is the goal, though. The goal is to make sure people here in Georgia understand the work that Georgia and Israel do together. It is a crucial, mutually beneficial relationship, from military to agriculture to technology to export-import. The amount of stuff that Israel and Georgia does together as 2 democratic countries is so influential, and it makes both states better. And so it's just an amazing day, and this is a perfect timing to create this amazing caucus. I am so honored to be a co-chair. Thank you all for being here, and thanks to all who are supporting it.
Thank you to all our caucus co-chairs. Next, I want to call up Representative Wilensky. He has something very special to share with everyone here today. We have a joint resolution commemorating this day and this caucus.
The resolution reads, commending the state of Israel for its meaningful and mutually beneficial relationship with the United States and with the state of Georgia and for other purposes. Whereas the United States, having been the first country to recognize Israel as an independent nation and as Israel's principal ally, has enjoyed a close and mutually beneficial relationship with Israel and her people. And whereas the United States is a nation of immigrants and Israeli Americans contribute invaluable innovation and skills that enhance our quality of life and promote the economic prosperity of our state and country. And whereas Israel is one of the smallest countries in the world, yet it also one of the world leaders in technology and innovation, as well as a world leader in the number of startups per capita. And whereas Israel is also an impact nation, harnessing its technological innovation for the greater good to address global challenges and goals, such as sustainable energy, water management, cybersecurity, and medical innovations, to name a few. And whereas Israel is the greatest friend and ally of the United States in the Middle East, and the values of our 2 nations are so intertwined that it is impossible to separate one from the other. And whereas in 1994, Georgia established an official representation in Israel through the Georgia Department of Economic Development, which has played an important role in further strengthening our bilateral relations in trade, academia, tourism, and more. And whereas there's a special bond of friendship between the citizens of Georgia and Israel that inspires the people of Georgia to stand with the people of Israel in solidarity and welcome all opportunities to grow our already deep relationship at all levels, including cultural, academic, and business endeavors. And whereas the strong bond between the state of Georgia and Israel is represented by cultural, economic, academic, and research and development, exchanges that contribute material to all Georgians, exemplified by the robust exchanges of Georgia's law enforcement professionals with Israel through the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange. And whereas Georgia is proud to serve as home to the Israeli Consul General of the southeastern United States. And whereas today over 100 Georgia companies have discovered the benefits of doing business in Israel, and over 90 Israeli companies have established headquarters, operation centers, or manufacturing facilities in Georgia, with trade sectors including a wide range of fields such as fintech, cybersecurity, healthcare, aerospace, e-commerce, and agritech. Whereas the United States played a key role in the historic Abraham Accords normalizing relations between Israel, the United Emirates, and Bahrain. Whereas the Abraham Accords paved the way to further regional cooperation and new era of peace and economic prosperity between Israel and Arab countries working together for a better future for the peoples. Whereas the deepening regional ties sparked by the Abraham Accords are opening further opportunities for expanding economic relations between Georgia, the State of Israel, and other countries in the Middle East. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives and the Senate jointly that the members of this body commend Israel for its meaningful and mutually beneficial relationship with the United States and with the state of Georgia, and support Israel in its legal, historical, and moral right to its reestablished independence and recognizing the Jewish people's rights to self-determination in their ancient homeland. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the House of the Representatives and Senate is authorized and directed to make an appropriate copy of this resolution available for distribution to the Consul General of Israel to the southeastern United States.
Well, that concludes today's ceremony. I want to thank Rufus Montgomery for sponsoring our reception after this, and we invite you all to join us in room 107, where we have amazing Israeli and kosher-style food. So please come and join us in this joyous occasion. Thank you all for being here. We'll take a few photos, and then we all hope to see you in room 107.